When the blood wasn't even dry on the Israelis who had been massacred, you had people in America going out protesting in favor of Hamas.
Yes.
And that's like very chilling. Some of these people are not U.S. citizens. They're student visas. So as president, if you're on a student visa and you're a foreigner and you're out there celebrating terrorism, I'm canceling your visa and I'm sending you home.
Well, that was Ron DeSantis. He is, of course, the Republican governor of Florida. The Democrats want to give gift baskets and join in the anti-Semitic rallies, calling on the world to wipe out Israel from the river to the sea. That's the Democrat Party chant. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, it's time to reassess. That's as generous as I can be about that. What is the chant in New York? We have, there is only one solution. White so-called liberals, Democrats all, marching in the streets in a mob. They love the mob. Chanting there is only one solution. Now, when you're talking about Israel and you're chanting there is only one solution, that means the final solution. See, it's not a two-state solution. They were given a two-state solution. Here you've got the Gaza, 25 miles of Mediterranean waterfront real estate, which you turned into a torture factory. It's like one of those Saw movies. You know, Hollywood does those. Didn't you go see the latest Saw movie? What is it, Saw 11?
10.
Saw 10? Are you still eagerly anticipating Saw 11 coming out soon? You went with a buddy of Michael told me the other day over the weekend, he went and saw the movie Saw 10. It's, you know, about torture deaths. And is it still in Eastern Europe? Because they used to be in Eastern Europe, those movies. Huh?
This one's in Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. See, that works pretty well. That's racist, I think, though. Eastern Europe is okay because they're basically white, you know. But Eastern European, it's different. It is. So we've got a lot of crazy for you because, you know, the Democrats are still off the chain. And, you know, that can only lead to bad things because they're crazy. Crazy, man, crazy. Boy, are they crazy. And we've got Israel, of course. There's a war going on. You hear anything about that? There's a war going on over there. Because the troglodytes, they've got the troglodytes over there, and the Democrats are on the side of the troglodytes. I was talking to Larry O'Connor about this minutes ago, as a matter of fact, and how during the Cold War, we used to refer to the leftists that were here in the United States undermining the United States of America, and there were many of them, not just Hanoi Jane Fonda, but there were millions of them, Democrats, we called them, and they were pro-communist, they were pro-Soviet Union, they were pro-Ho Chi Minh. Hey, hey, Ho Chi Minh. They were pro-North Vietnam, and not just Hanoi Jane either, but more of them. And we called them commie simps because commie, for Democrats listening along, commie is short for communists. And it's a little bit of a slur, but not a terrible slur. And then simps, that's for sympathizers. And so many Democrats were, self-described Democrats, were commie simps. They were communist sympathizers. Now the Democrat Party, they've marshaled their mentally ill forces, and now they're goose-stepping to a different drummer. And today's lockstep is they are terror simps. What do we call them? Jihad simps? Because they're sympathetic to the jihadi cause. And we're sending relief supplies into Gaza now. You know, we should really, under that construct, we should really be sending relief supplies to Putin in Russia now, too, because they're the aggressor in the war. But the Democrats, and we got AOC again, she's back, and Rashida Tlaib, of course, and Ilhan Omar, they're jihadis. They are jihadi simps, and they're not on the side of civilization. Now, the commies in the Soviet Union didn't exactly represent civilization either, but these blood-drenched savages from hell, well, they represent very much the opposite of civilization. That doesn't mean the Democrat Party won't support them, because the Democrat Party, and I'm talking about members of Congress who are heroes of the news media and heroes of the party, like the Jihad Squad, and we do have the Jihad Squad. They got, Ilhan Omar, and you got Rashida Tlaib, and you got AOC, and they've been talking again. And then you got, that leads directly to the mobs on the street of New York. We have audio for you from the mobs on the streets of New York, and they're all Democrats. And they're chanting genocidally anti-Semitic chants because they love death more than you love life. They're the left. Nobody's murdered more people than the left. Nobody's stolen more stuff than the left. I mean, the Visigoths, the Vikings had nothing on the left just in the last 100 years. It's, what is it now, 106 years. Got 106 years. Got to update there. But I've got updates for you on the Democrats being the party of terrorism. They're of course, they are the party of American terrorist groups, too, like the KKK and the Students for a Democratic Society, SDS, and the Weather Underground, which was the Weather Men until they learned that was sexist, and then they changed it to the Weather Underground. And the Sudanese Liberation Army kidnapped Patty Hearst. And, they're all Democrat Party organizations, all these violent, criminal, mob, terrorist organizations. They're all Democrat Party organizations. Start with the KKK and their boy Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was a statewide leader of the Democrat Party and a Confederate officer, because the Confederate States of America, another Democrat Party organization. And today they're carrying on the traditions of the party. I assume lynchings are going to come back soon, because the Democrats also gave us that. You're especially the racist lynchings. But you're a Democrat and you're Jewish. What's the matter with you? You're a Democrat and you're black. What's the matter with you? You're a Democrat and you're white and not Jewish. What's the matter with you? Honestly, what is the matter with you? This party is, you might as well just join Hamas. They're a little more honest about what they are. We are at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. Got a bunch of news stories for you today, as you might expect. Hollywood stars thank Biden. Hollywood stars thank Biden. Call for release of all Hamas hostages. That makes sense. And cure for cancer and landing on Mars, just to throw in a couple of other completely unrelated things. J.D. Vance circulates memo calling for Israel and Ukraine aid to be split up. But wait a minute. See, this is the kitchen sink approach to governance. And, they got this, hey, here's $60 billion for Ukraine, with absolutely nobody watching where the $60 billion go. Vote for that. And, here's aid for Israel. And, wait, here's billions for border security. And then if you vote for no accountability on $60 billion in aid to Ukraine, you have to, you have to vote for the whole thing. But then the creepy lying Democrats and their creepy lying media bootlicks turn around and say, those Republicans voted against money for the border, for border security, because they throw the kitchen sink in, and then you got to vote for everything or vote for nothing. And then they, line item the stuff out and attack you based on nothing. And it should all be split up into different bills. There should be a vote on aid for Ukraine, and it should be debated. There should be a separate bill and a separate vote on money to secure our border, and there should be debate, and it should be voted on, and everybody should be on the record voting on that and that alone. Border security money and border security money alone. And then aid for Israel and aid for Israel alone, which should not be lumped in with aid for Ukraine, which should be debated separately. The Ukraine scam has become one of the biggest scams ever. Here's another $60 billion. Do with what you want. Buy homes on mountaintops in Switzerland. What do we care? Buy yachts and park them in Crete. What do we care? Because I promise you that's going on all over the place. But no, the New York Times and 60 Minutes are busy not looking into that because, they're not on our side. But I think J.D. Vance has a good idea. Senator John Fetterman, who is a criminal and a brain-dead moron, he's got a Twitter account, and Fox News Politics tweeted out, J.D. Vance circulates memo calling for Israel and Ukraine aid to be split up. That's all it says. And John Fetterman retweeted, he's a senator from Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania has lost its mind. And John Fetterman retweeted that with 2 words. And the first word I can't repeat. It's a 4-letter word that begins with F. And the second word is that. So F that is what John Fetterman retweeted to a Fox News Politics tweet and ex-post saying J.D. Vance circulates memo calling for Israel and Ukraine aid to be split up. Why Senator Frankenstein should those two aid packages involving many tens of billions of dollars of American money, taxpayer money, why should they not be split up? Are they exactly the same thing? This man should be removed from office with a hook, honestly. A tow truck should throw a loop around his ankle and drag him out of Washington. This guy is very severely brain damaged, which puts him in perfect standing with the Democrat Party. Just amazing. House Democrat, only one Democrat, Richie Torres, fires back at Ilhan Omar. Oh no, they're shooting each other on Capitol Hill. Fires back at Ilhan Omar, who is a jihadi. She is certainly a jihadi simp. She is a full-blown genocidal anti-Semite. She's anti-American, she's anti-capitalist, and she is in the mainstream of the Democrat Party in 2023. House Democrat Richie Torres fires back at Ilhan Omar for asking him how many Palestinians he wants to die. And then Ilhan Omar sent a check to Planned Parenthood along with a meat cleaver. Honestly. So we got that. Rashida Tlaib, another jihadi simp. Rashida Tlaib calls for independent investigation into Gaza hospital blast. She's still going with the Jews hit the hospital parking lot and killed 500 people, or maybe a couple of dozen people, but nobody knows because the lie made its way around the world before the truth put its thobe on. Its thobe, that's one of those long robes that men wear in the Arab world. That's because usually you say before the truth puts its pants on or the truth puts its boots on. But Rashida Tlaib, she wants an independent and to lynch the Jews because she is a vile anti-Semite. I am not. Tlaib's statement on Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. Why are the Baptists running a hospital? Get out of there. In the Gaza. Rashida Tlaib put out a statement, and you'll be surprised to learn that she's pro-terrorist and she's an anti-Semite. Just scratching the surface on that. And here's another headline. Fox News Representative Rashida Tlaib triples down on Hamas hospital narrative. It's the Hamas talking point, and she is here to lick their boots. Did they wear boots? Yeah, sometimes. Now they're wearing Chinese combat boots because all the bad guys are in on it. It's like a James Bond movie. Cast doubt on findings from Biden administration. Everybody knows that it was an Islamic Jihad missile, a Palestinian Islamic Jihad missile that hit the parking lot of the hospital and killed an unknown number of people. And we've got Democrats here who are willing to go to the mattresses, go to the Mets on behalf of Hamas and the jihadis, and on college campuses and in the streets of New York. Democrats are marching for jihad. And you can't conclude that they're not anti-Semites if you've got 2 or 3 brain cells to rub together. Pretty amazing stuff. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to bring resolution to censure Rashida Tlaib, accusing her of, quote, anti-Semitic activity, end quote. I think that would be a good start, but we don't do that. You know why? You know why, Michael? Democrats. And amazingly, they're the party of anti-Semitism, and they're pro-Hamas and pro-Jihad. The Democrat Party is a bigger threat to civilization in the United States of America than the jihadis are. They're a bigger threat than Vladimir Putin is. They are inside the machine, and they are here to screw everything up. A former, sometimes Republican governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, he was scheduled to go do what was he going to do, a fellowship or something at Harvard University, which is a hotbed of anti-Semitism because it's full of lefties. And Larry Hogan pulls out of Harvard programs over the anti-Semitic vitriol, his words, on the campus there. So we've got a lot on that on the big story of the day. In Washington, D.C., the mayor of Washington, who is a radical left-wing extremist that loves murder, she came up with a new crime plan yesterday, and it's being laughed at. It's so terrible. She's an embarrassment as well. So we got that. Addressing Crime Trends. It's the Addressing Crime Trends Act, which they turned into an acronym, the ACT Act. And believe me, it's an act. That's for sure. We got the economy, Bidenomics, car payments, buying homes, and of course the Speaker of the House, Fumblerama, which, there's a little bit of an update. It's not very interesting, but something we've learned 3 weeks without a Speaker of the House, that's coming up. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. I wonder how that New York Times pro-Hitler journalist is doing. He loves Hitler, and he writes for the New York Times. They hired him back. Hey, isn't that the guy that loves Hitler? Yeah. Oh, we need him for this story. Let's hire that Hitler-loving guy, because, Suleiman Hiji. He's the New York Times Hitler lover. Well, one of them that we know of. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Angela calling from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Angela, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Wonderful, Angela. Great to hear your voice.
You as well. I listen to you all the time, so I constantly hear your voice. I just want to say that, it is a fact that people all over the world, it appears that people all over the world know that they can advance their cause on the backs of black people. All they have to do is claim racism in some type of way and use that, like that Palestinian guy talking about George Floyd. It was unbelievable. But they would, just like the LGBTQ community has used the backs of black people to advance their cause, all the stuff even in the schools now. And then to think about the way that those Palestinians think, there's so many black people, black Democrats, that are pork chop eating, alcohol drinking, fornicating. They don't even fit with the ideology of the people that they're saying they support. But as long as it's a color line issue in their minds, black versus white, and that's the reason why you have so many people teaming up on the side with the Palestinians, because if you're black or if you're a so-called person of color, you're innocent and good, and if you're white, you're evil and bad. And that's the way that the Democrat or the left mindset works. And one other thing, when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, that's the consensus of black Democrats. So he didn't say anything out of order. That's the consensus of black Democrats. If you don't vote Democrat, you're not black. That's the way they feel. To call you, Coon is the name for you. They don't even consider you black. So Joe Biden hit the nail on the head. And any cause that anybody wants to advance, just put it on the backs of black people. And
it is, you've got them figured out, Angela. Because, the world may have gone mad, but there's still good music out there, and you should pause for that every now and then. Angela was wonderful. People responding to Angela calling in. It's true, the Black Lives Matter people, radical, Marxists, leftist, anti-American, racist organization, a shakedown racket, that they were able to shake tens of billions, not tens of millions, tens of billions of dollars, Black Lives Matter, out of corporations and idiot liberals running big corporations, literally tens of billions of dollars. And then where did they go? And do Black Lives Matter? What happened to all that? It was just George Floyd. And Angela is right also that Hamas has been talking about George Floyd because the left has this kind of information dominance where they can take the George Floyd incident and turn it into a global movement. All right? And they did. George Floyd, of course, I don't know if you caught the Tucker Carlson thing, I guess, over the weekend where he went through the George Floyd documents, and it's something I've done many times before. And, for example, the coroner finding that George Floyd didn't die of asphyxiation or, any damage to the throat or the neck. He died of a cardio event, a heart attack, and that he had lots of fentanyl in his system and also methamphetamine in his system. Neither of these things are good for your heart. And he, we've got 100,000 fatal drug overdoses a year in the United States, thanks in no small part to communist China, funneling fentanyl and the elements for fentanyl to the cartels in Mexico, and then in no small part to Joe Biden and the Democrats because of our open borders, and no small part the Democrat Party because they've made, drugs cool. They're decriminalizing drugs. Just see in British Columbia, which is in Canada, another country altogether. British Columbia, that's where we keep Vancouver. Vancouver is out there. They have decriminalized heroin and fentanyl and all the big trendy Democrat drugs because they're making everything better. You see. Now I went looking while talking to Angela, the wonderful Angela, and I just did a quick search: Hamas George Floyd, and it goes back to 2021. National Panhandler Radio suckling on the taxpayer teat to spread radical left-wing racist propaganda. The complicated history behind Black Lives Matter's solidarity with the pro-Palestinian movement. Again, this is National Panhandler Radio from 2021, June 12th of 2021. And inside Black Lives Matter long history with Hamas. That is from the Washington Free Beacon 5 days ago. And the left, you see, this is about, and Angela was talking about it, it's about this this polarized and polarizing binary. Their children are non-binary, and the Democrats are all gender non-binary, but politics and culture are very binary. And Angela was talking about it, the black versus white. White means you're evil, you see. That's the whole thing. That's what the patriarchy is when they attack the patriarchy. That's white men. And it kind of occurred to me, Michael and I were talking about this a little while ago, that, Hamas attacked Israel, not taking into account that Israel provides them with little things like electricity and clean water and food and medicine. And you're welcome, Hamas, because they can't provide that for themselves. They were given their own little country, 25 miles. Now, the Gaza Strip is more than twice the size of Washington, D.C., geographically. More than twice the population, about 3 times the population of Washington, D.C. And can they generate their own electricity? No. Why is that? Is it because they're not advanced enough culturally to generate their own electricity, to have a supply of clean water for themselves, of fuel to keep machines running and medicine to keep hospitals running? Instead, they shoot missiles at their own hospitals. And then, Democrat members of Congress lie about that and launch their anti-Semitic attacks against Israel because, Democrats. But it is this cultural and racial binary that the left engages in. The Marxist construct is all things must be viewed through the prism of race, class, and gender. Race comes first for a reason, then the class warfare, then gender. And the Democrat Party has gone all in with the Marxist construct of race, class, and gender. They're all in because they're not liberals, they're leftists. The Democratic Party isn't. And Angela was talking about the color line. See, and the so-called Palestinians, who are just Arabs and not, separate as Palestinians, like they're ethnically different. If you, find a dead body of a so-called Palestinian versus a Syrian or a Jordanian, there are not genetic differences. But never mind that. The color line that Angela is talking about, white people are evil, and that's it, because they're the victims and the victimizers. That's another radical left-wing extremist Marxist construct that the Democrat Party has inflicted upon American politics. And And the Palestinians, so-called, are naturally the victims because the are the Israelis, are they like European Anglo Caucasians? No, they're Semites. They're Semites like the Arabs. But never mind that. Lots of centuries in Europe where they weren't always welcome, I think it would be fair to say. Yeah, but white people are evil, and this is about, and therefore if the Palestinians attack you and butcher your babies, then first of all they deny that, that the Democrats deny that the Palestinians butchered babies. This is one of their there are signs at all their pro-terror marches, the Democrat Party pro-terror marches, that didn't happen. Where are the show me the babies? And honestly, they got to release all the pictures and all the video, and they should have done it long ago. And the news media is sanitizing everything coming out of Israel with their blurry pictures. It's embarrassing. But the the bad guys are the white guys, and in this case, the white guys are the Jews in Israel. They're Semites, but pay no attention. It's an amazing Democrat Party that we have here, and it's true that the Hamas terrorists have been citing George Floyd. It's kind of an amazing thing, and this whole Black Lives Matter. But they abort 40% of the black population in the womb. 400 out of every 1,000 black pregnancies terminated, with the Democrat program. They call it choice. Maybe the Nazis should have called the genocide choice. Then the Democrats could be in favor of it out in the open here. That's your Democrat Party. Amazing stuff. But it is the Hamas massacre, the terrorism, the jihad, the genocidal bloodlust of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and of Hezbollah, and of Iran, and now I think you can fairly say of the Democratic Party, because they are all in with one side on this, and that side is the side of the killers. That's your Democrat Party today. If you're a Democrat, please explain yourself, honestly. Our lines are open to Democrats, so you can explain to me why the Democrat Party has gone this way. Just extraordinary. We're at 888, just in case. 888-630-9625. But more broadly, and maybe more importantly, this is what we're seeing now, the anti-Israel, genocidal anti-Semitism. This is the animation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? DEI. I always like to call it DIE for diversity, inclusion, equity, because DIE is more appropriate. And the left, the biggest gang of murderers in the history of humankind, if you're interested in history, that's they carry the trophy there. But what we're seeing, the anti-Semitism and the pro-jihad Democrat Party, this is the animation of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is the racial division, ethnic division, and the polarization, balkanization of humankind into the oppressors and the oppressed. And when the oppressed murder your children and kidnap your grandmother who survived the Holocaust, well, you deserve it because you're oppressing the poor Palestinians who, again, a two-state solution. They don't want a two-state solution. They want the final solution, which is, the Nazi thing. That's the Wannsee Conference, where a bunch of German men with PhDs, mostly from academia, gathered in a mansion at an estate outside of Berlin to decide, well, we're going to have to kill all that. We put them in camps. Now we're going to have to exterminate all the Jews. That's where the final solution was concocted at the Wannsee Conference, where almost everyone there had a PhD from major universities, mostly but not entirely in Germany. And today, the left, which dominates academia, Harvard University, the Ivy League, the University of California and beyond, Speaking of which, the Washington Post has a story today that all of the major universities in the Washington, D.C. area have now put out statements, official statements from the university, condemning Hamas and the massacre of Jews, mostly because their students and faculty have come out in favor of the massacre. So most of the universities, almost all the universities, have put out very clear statements condemning the massacre of the Jews, except Howard University, since everything's about race with Democrats, including where you go to college and colleges themselves. A historically black college and or university, HBCU, Howard University, where, not to be confused with Harvard University, Howard University is where, it's one thing I'll give her credit for. Kamala Harris went to college, and there the Washington Post points out, radical left-wing extremists at the Washington Post, they point out that Howard University is the only university in the D.C. area to not put out a clear statement condemning the massacre of the Jews. But never mind that. In the meantime, I told you about this yesterday. The Associated Press will not allow reporters to refer to Hamas as a terrorist organization because they're relativists and they're deconstructionists, and diversity, equity, and inclusion means that the Hamas Arabs have a right to murder the Jews because, they're oppressed. Therefore, that's their right. That's what they say. And Larry Hogan, again, the sometimes Republican, former governor of the state of Maryland, Larry Hogan pulls out of Harvard. This is not Howard now, but Harvard. Oh, sure, he went to Harvard. Larry Hogan pulls out of Harvard programs over anti-Semitic vitriol on campus. The former Maryland governor, Larry Hogan, with an R after his name, has dropped out of 2 fellowship programs at Harvard University amid the fallout after the university's reaction to Hamas's deadly attack on Israel earlier this month. Hogan, who left office earlier this year at the end of his term, had agreed several months ago to take part in leadership fellowships at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Now, what is the School of Public Health being run by, funded by T.H. Chan, no relation to Charlie Chan? What does that have to do with the John F. Kennedy School of Government? Well, it's all just a pool of money, pay no attention. In a letter to the university in which Hogan posted publicly online, the moderate Republican, this is the Hill typing on behalf of the Democrat Party, the moderate Republican said he would no longer participate after more than 30 student groups signed onto a joint statement blaming Israel for the attack. I cannot condone the dangerous anti-Semitism that has taken root on your campus, he wrote. This horrific terrorist attack was the greatest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust, and it should be universally condemned as exactly what it is, pure evil. So, good for Larry Hogan. That's not so bad. He said the signers, many of whom have now disavowed because they're afraid they won't get jobs, hold the Israeli regime, this is what they said, that they hold the Israeli regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence. This is the mainstream of the Democrat Party. This is where, Barack Obama and everybody else went to law school. And now they're basically the Fourth Reich. Bam, 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 bam. I mentioned the Wannsee conference a little while ago. We were contacted about that. The Wannsee conference? No, the Wannsee, Wannsee conference. A group of 15 Nazis gathered at this estate in the suburb of Berlin, January 20th of 1942, led by an SS general, Reinhard Heydrich. And These men put together what they called the final solution of the Jewish question. That is the extermination of the entire Jewish population. And there were 15 of them. I haven't looked at this in a long time. 12 or 13 of them had PhDs. Very well-educated, sophisticated European men, you know. Listen, I've got a lot coming up for you about this and other wacky stuff. But right now, let's go to a telephone call, Michael. Let's go to Clark, calling from Fayetteville, Arkansas, listening on the great KFAY. Clark, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call.
You bet.
I've been listening to you for a long time and really enjoy your content. I was just trying to kind of connect the dots in terms of how the Democrat Party kind of views, right and wrong, essentially. So, I remember a few months ago, the guy from the Marine that was in that subway car that there's a loose cannon African-American man terrorizing everybody in the car, basically saying he's going to kill people and stuff like that. And then he ends up holding them down, and unfortunately the guy passes away,
right?
Which is terrible, but that's kind of what's going on with Hamas. I mean, they're the terrorism, they're the terrorists, and yet the defense in that situation with the Marine is he's the bad guy. He's the one that killed this innocent black man who was terrorizing everyone, and that's kind of how I see. It's just on a much larger scale. So I think that's where it really comes down to is right and wrong. Some people view right and wrong just through the lens of whoever it is that they support the most versus, objectively what is actually right and wrong.
Yeah, they're always on the side of the bad guy, the left is. You're talking about Daniel Penny, who is a former Marine. He was on a New York City subway, a crazy person, out of control. Jordan Neely was threatening to murder people on the train, terrorizing women and children. And Daniel Penny wrestled him to the ground and got him in a chokehold, tried to restrain him while waiting for police, and Jordan Neely died. And it was a tragedy and an unfortunate circumstance. And the Democrats immediately turned on Daniel Penny to lynch him.